I feel so good to do this again. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Fandom Fridays, where we proceed to check out all the fanfics that are not pony related. You want to know what the best way to celebrate coming back is? To do my yearly tradition. Let's finish up with Likara's Evagelion Tribulations After. Last chapter, Instrumentality Reborn. Since he breathed simply as he dragged his way through the countryside, his head was bleeding in two spots. He could still feel the pain in his legs. It was the pain that kept him from walking back towards Synapse, formerly known as Nerve. The information he had was priceless if his friends and allies were to prevent another third impact. All of a sudden, memories returned to him. He remembered receiving a signaling device, something that would alert Synapse if he needed help, or if he found Gendo Ikari, the father who he had been searching for the past 6 months. He pulled out a small black box from his jacket pocket. There were 2 buttons on it, one for saying if he had found Gendo, the other if he needed assistance. He took a deep breath and pressed both buttons down hard. Then he fell unconscious. "You're God and I'm not, just so you like to know." The audience in the restaurant stood up, clapping for mad at Tensi's singing. He took a bow. "Thank you, thank you, thank you, and thank you. We're going to take a little break here. Get yourselves a drink, some food, or anything. I recommend the fried chicken, but that's just me." Tensi let go of the microphone and walked down to the stage, over the table where Masato and Ahsoka were sitting. "You seem a little tired tonight," Masato states. Tensi yawned. "Yeah, I didn't get much sleep last night." Ahsoka raised an eyebrow. "Oh, and who were you doing the Midnight Olympics with today, Joe?" "Maya. No, just kidding. I didn't sleep with anybody. It's just that ever since Ray disappeared on us, I've been having trouble sleeping." Titsy replies, "That might also explain why your sync ratios have been slightly lower than normal." Sal says, I wouldn't be too worried about Ayame. Wonder Girl's a survivor." Ahsoka said, "No, Wonder Girl is a clone that can no longer keep cloning herself should she die. So I should think..." Ringing from Sal's pocket interrupted Tensy. Sal pulled out the ringing cell phone and pressed the talk button. "General Kazaragi." "What?" "We're on our way." Sal hung up and turned to the two. "The computers are picking up an emergency signal from Cincy." Ahsoka immediately started to get up. Jesse turned around and started to bed on stage. "Lee, you gotta take over for me tonight. Possibly for the rest of the week. Something's come up." Jesse got out of his chair, along with Masato and Ahsoka. The helicopter swooped over the countryside while Ahsoka and Tensy hit. He had sunglasses on. Tensy looked at one open side of the helicopter with binoculars. Finally, looking in directly towards the right, he saw him. "I've got him! He's laying on the ground over there!" he exclaimed. The pilot nodded and went into the direction he pointed him to. The helicopter swooped over the unconscious Cincy and landed right next to him. Tensy and Ahsoka got out with the medical team that was with them and examined Cincy. The team looked over to him. "He's alive, but not much longer if we don't get him back to Synapse," one of the doctors said. "If we could get him to the chopper and bring us back," Ahsoka commanded. The medical staff nodded and complied with the command. 3 hours later, Tensy, Ahsoka, and Masato stood or sat in the waiting room of the hospital. They all looked impatient. "Damn it, what are they doing in there?" Ahsoka demanded. "They're healing your boyfriend. I suggest you be a little more patient," Tensy replied. "Oh, come on, Tensy. You're just as impatient as the rest of us about this," Masato states. Tensy sighs. "All right, I admit I'm a little curious to see what's happening in there." Ahsoka mockingly pat him on the back. "See? Not so hard to admit to having emotions now, is it?" Tensy glared at her. It was about to make a comeback, but the doors to the emergency room was open and a doctor came out. He sighed and said, "Well, we've done everything we can. He's in a coma right now. It could be hours, days, months, or even years before he wakes up." "We don't have years. In fact, we may not have hours. It's the stress call said he found Gendo, and we must find him," Masato said. "Well, there's nothing more we can do except pray." I understand walking off. "I can try something," Tensy says. "What? What can you try?" Masato said. "A couple of months ago, I tested to see my ability to enter a mind had been taken away from me when I had been kicked out of heaven. And not. It's a long shot, but I could go to Sensei's mind and get from him the answers we seek, Tensei said. Brilliant! How did we ever survive before you came along? My guess is you had divine intervention. Tensei suggests, standing up. So we walked down to the emergency room, where Sensei Ikari was laying. Most of his wounds had been treated, and an oxygen mask was over his mouth. Sensei rolled up his sleeves and cracked his knuckles. He spread his fingers apart and placed his hands on Sensei's face. He smiled when he spoke. My mind to your mind, your thoughts to my thoughts. But in his own mind, Sensei Ikari sat in a train car. The entire area seemed to be hazed with a yellow color. Sensei merely ran his thoughts in circles several times before he finally looked up to see Tensei staring back at him. For what seemed like an eternity, neither spoke to each other. They merely stared at one another for what appeared to them as millions of years, eyes never moving except to blink. Finally, Sensei said, Doesn't this train ever go anywhere? Sensei blinked, not knowing what to say. I mean, of all the weird, twisted mind messages me and the other angels have suggested to you, this one was the weirdest. I think Ramiel gave you this one. I mean, what the hell is this train car doing? Where are we going? Where did we come from? It's one screw-up little reality he concocted. It was always Ramiel's problem. I always thought three-dimensionally. All of a sudden, Sensei burst out laughing. Tensei stared at him with a blank expression. Sensei, you are too much, Sensei sighed. Probably. So, how have you been doing? Well, I started looking for Gendo in a couple of places I knew, but none of them matched up. I got a lead on him about a month ago and managed to track him down. I've acquired information on what he's been doing ever since he first disappeared. However, a group of would-be assassins beat me half to death. They probably think I'm dead right now, Sensei explains. Did Gendo send them? Sensei asks. No. The people I found out about sent them. There's a new Seele. Apparently, they've been funding Gendo to find a way to create Third Impact. What about Ray? She's been missing for a little bit. Any idea if she's involved? Yeah, she is. My father took her out of Synapse to a secret room, down in Central Dogma, where Liv used to reside. There's a hidden chamber that Gendo's been using to get in and out of Synapse to collect supplies. Thank you, Sensei. I'm going to leave now to inform the others. Sensei stood up. Oh, Ikari? Yeah? I'm sure you could think of fewer better fantasies than a frickin' train, okay? Maybe a threesome between you, Asuka, and Masato? Sensei gasped at Tensei, who smiled and disappeared from the train. Sensei blinked and thought for a moment. Well, the idea is sort of appealing. Tensei opened his eyes to let go of Sensei. He fell to his side a little, caught himself. Breathed deeply as he realized he used up a lot of strength during that. He turned to the others. Ray was kidnapped by Gendo. There's a hidden chamber in Central Dogma where Lilith used to be. There's a lot more. Please, help me up. The doors to Central Dogma opened slowly, having not been moved for so long. The place was dark. The air was cold as steel. It smelled like blood. Sato and Risco strained their eyes to see what was inside, but failed. Risco took a small control panel in her hands and typed in some commands. All the lights in the chamber flickered, but then turned on. The two of them looked around the light-lit room, seeing the maintenance of paths in the hall that was generated by one of Sele's Ava series, when he attempted to free Lilith and create Third Impact. He looked around and saw one part of the wall that seemed to have a panel on it. Risco accessed the control panel, trying to gain entry into the locking mechanisms throughout Central Dogma. She managed to access it. The panel slid open, revealing an array of technological equipment scattered throughout it. Also appeared to be a dark tunnel going into a sewer system above Synapse. Sal pulled out her cell phone and dialed back to the main control room. This is General. We have more of an interesting problem than I thought, she said. Jesse stood on the spot where Masato and Sensei used to overlook Tokyo 3. However, his mission was not to look at the sea, but look at the sky. He knew there was still one unfinished matter to take care of if New Seele had a deepened form and another goal of Third Impact. He raised both his arms up to the sky and began to concentrate. Mental physicists took him up to the atmosphere, past it, up to the encircling moon. There was one object in orbit that he required. The lance of Longinus. He focused his mental powers on pulling the lance down, compressing its form at the same time. His mind was beginning to strain as he pulled at the lance, trying to get back down to Earth. It was beginning to move, but Tensei was in immense pain. His eyes felt like they were on fire and he was sweating heavily. felt as if his very mind was going to burst. He knew he had to bring the lens back down and shrink it to a reasonable size. He was accomplishing that. The power needed to pull diminished, so he got closer to Earth, quickly falling through the Earth's atmosphere as it approached its position. Still, the pain remained as it finally dropped in front of him, now only 2 meters long. Jesse collapsed to the ground, breathing heavily, with a giant headache. He got up and picked up the lance. I hate this stupid thing. This seems to be some sort of jamming device, Risco states, examining one of the large electronic boxes in the room. Jamming devices, sensor blocks, lockout codes. This is some intense stuff here. You know, when this is all over, I'm going to retire to Cambridge University and raise begonias, Risco states. Lovely flowers, begonias. The two turned to see Tensei walking towards them with a lance in his hands. Tensei, what is it all this equipment for? Don't bother trying to understand. Merely, it's a link for Gendo to send Ray or himself into Sidhouse without anyone knowing. Tensei explains, pulling the lance out from behind him. And I don't want him here just yet. He shouted, immediately shoves the lance through one of the boxes. Saw Richard geeked out as he began slamming the lance into the equipment like a baseball bat, shoving it through things, destroying all the sophisticated equipment. He began delivering blows to one particular console. After 3 straight hits to it, the lance snapped in half. Tensei looked at the stick that had been the handle for the lance. Weapons. Always useless in the end, he said as he threw the stick to the side. Well, Frisco and Sato were still staring and keeping him. He turned to him and said, You two look like her. Let's have lunch. Sissy's eyes flared open, expecting to see the ceiling that was not so unfamiliar to him anymore. However, he instead saw the face of a light blue-haired, red-eyed clone of his mother named Rei Ayame. For a moment, he thought the girl had been watching over him, waiting for him to wake from the sleep he had been through. He began to open his mouth to ask for some water. Then Rei's face came down at him. Much to his surprise, her mouth locked around his, kissing him deeply. Saying he was surprised would have been an understatement. And then felt something seep from her lips to his. Suddenly felt tired and woozy once again, falling back into a deep sleep. Ray pulled Cincy's unconscious body off the bed into a cart, quickly pushing the cart out of the hospital room. Cincy leaned his head against his fist, staring at a cup of tea. Sal went over to him and asked, What are you doing? Concentrating, he exclaimed. Sal rolled her eyes and sat down at the table with him. That thing you used to smash the equipment in the hidden room, was that the lance of Longivis? She asked. Yes, Cincy replied, yawning from exhaustion. How did you get it from orbit? Sal asked. My telekinetic abilities are relatively intact. I pulled it back to Earth and struck it down to reasonable size, Cincy explained. And how did you manage to break an object of holy power by slamming into a couple of boxes? Sal inquired. Cincy smiled. The lance of Longivis, even being a holy object, is just a stick with a pointed end. It's not the lance itself, it's the power to abuse it. Since you people aren't going to need the thing for another few million years or so, heaven has taken the power of the lance away from it, leaving it but a metal pole. When you people need that thing again, it'll be recreated. You seem tired. Maybe you should get some rest, Sal says. Well, entering a person's mind is shrinking a big object down to a reasonable size and pulling it from orbit, so it takes it out from a person, Tessie replies. A beeping sound came from Sal's pocket. She reached into it, pulled herself onto her ear, and said, Joe Kasaragi here. Sal's eyes got wider as he heard the news. I'm on my way. She turned off the phone and put it in her back pocket, standing up. Ray was just caught within HQs, trying to cart Cincy out through Central Dogma, and Cincy's awake. Well? Ritsuo asked. Well, what? Cincy asked in return. Are you going to try to scan her mind, find out what happened? Ritsuo inquired. Cincy yawned and replied, I'm tired, Ritsuo. It's been a long day, and I need sleep. I'll scan her in the morning when I feel better. Cincy walked away from the hospital room. Cincy, in a wheelchair, asked, Since when did Cincy seem to get so much excessive power? Sato, shouldn't you be able to quit? Or him to do it? I'm not running the same policies as your father did, Cincy. The kid needs rest, and I'm letting him have it. Until he directly questions my order, there's nothing I can do to him, Sato explains. It's now 3 a.m., Tokyo 3 Standard Time. Ryame's closed eyes start shifting left and right. Slowly they open. Ray's eyes must adjust to the darkness, but he accomplished that with ease. She attempts to stand up and look around, but realizes she cannot. She looks down at herself to find herself with several restraints, keeping her attached to the bed in the hospital. Damn it, what have I done now? She asks a particularly no one. It is now 8 a.m., Tokyo 3 Standard Time. Ray's Ayame's eyes are shifted at an angle, indicating some extreme annoyance and anger. Two synapse soldiers held automatic weapons training her at all times. Risco quickly walked to the room. I demand to be released from these. Risco nodded to the guards, and they took hold of the bed, quickly wheelchair her down the hall, then into the elevator. They walked into the elevator, went down 2 floors. When it stopped again, they pushed the cart down another hall and into a closed cell at the end of the hall. They put the bed into the cell and quickly undid the restraints. They ran out of the cell, aimed their guns at her again. He pushed the restraints away from her and got up, stretching her arms and legs as he got out of bed and faced the guards. Now accompanying the guards were Tensi, Misato, Shinji, Asuka, and Ritsuko. What the hell's going on? Ray asked. You told us long ago, Asuka commanded. What? Ray asked in reply, confused. All I know is you were kidnapped by Gendo. Was I wrong about that? Were you really working him for the whole time? Shinji asked, sitting in his wheelchair. Last thing I remember is walking out of my home, the apartment building, something covering over my mouth. After that, I don't remember a thing, Ray said. Tenchi, are you strong enough to scan her now? Misawa required. Should be. Sleep is what I needed, Tenchi replied. Tenchi walks into the cell and walks in front of Ray. I'm going to scan your mind to see if I can uncover some sense behind this. All right, Ayame? Tenchi asked. Ray nodded and closed her eyes. Tenchi rolled the sleeves on his shirt back and placed his hands on her face. He closed his eyes, began to focus. His hands seemed to glow a little. Tenchi's head moved from side to side sometimes, like he was moving. Slowly let go of her head. It fell back a little, but he caught his balance. Interesting. What? She's telling the truth. However, what she doesn't know is that after she was kidnapped, Gendo Ikari placed some kind of device in her mind. It's not very sophisticated. It just suppresses the memory sectors of the brain, plants an alternate personality over the current one. That personality was completely obedient to him and him alone. Seems to have gone to remission for the moment. Ritsuko, you can remove the device through a simple surgical technique. Tenchi explains. Does it tell where Commander Ikari is? Misawa asks. Yes, I found his location. It's quite an interesting place he chose, Tenchi replies. Why? Where is it? Asks Asuka. Gendo Ikari looked at the monitor screens, showing all DNA samples from the angels and the late Yui Ikari. Gendo take furiously into the comm ports. Each time the results showed the DNA samples splitting apart. Gendo growled and slammed his fist at the desk. Temper, Ikari. Gendo left from his chair, emptying a gun at Tenchi, who stood in the doorway. Leaning against it, smiling, Gendo put down the gun. I was wondering when you'd find this place, Gendo said, sitting down in the chair again. It wasn't what I expected. I didn't even know where the catacombs directly beneath your dead wife's grave, Tenchi said. Time to come home, Ikari. My dear boy, there's more to this than you understand, Gendo stated. What do you mean by that? Tenchi inquired. Tenchi, I think you should have a look at this, a voice cried out from the other ends of the catacombs. Tenchi calmly walked out and walked back to Shinji and Ray, who were with an entire battalion from Synapse. They're all looking at shock at something, but Tenchi couldn't see it until it was right next to him. He turned his head to see what they were looking at. He gasped in shock and surprise. It was Lilith. Tenchi growled right back to Gendo, who was still over a chair, looking at data charts. You son of a bitch! He sighed. Shinji and Ray followed soon after, with Shinji scowling at his father. How did you do it? How the hell's that thing there? Tenchi demanded. Through Ray. I cloned Lilith using the DNA from her that was stored in Ray. You see, despite what you may think, I am not your enemy. Gendo says, facing them. You better have one good explanation before I blow you in that clone straight to hell, Tenchi exclaimed. Sheila is and has always been alive, Gendo stated. The three were taken aback. What? Ray said. Must I repeat myself? The organization known as Sheila still exists. They have been working secretly underground ever since the first defeat by you all. Seeley did just come back into existence recently. He'd been working behind the scenes since a year ago. He designed a new group of Evangelions with dummy plugs, assigned to initiate Third Impact. He forced me to clone Lilith for that purpose. However, Third Impact has never been my goal, he explains. Then what is? Why all this secrecy? Why have you been doing this? Shinji demanded. For your mother. Gendo shouted back at him. Shinji was kind of surprised, so he immediately raised an eyebrow at his family. I don't care about the survival or evolution of the human race. I care about you, Ikari. I want my family back. You alone weren't enough for me, Shinji. My entire family back the way it was, he explains. You idiot! Shinji exclaimed at Gendo. What do you mean? Gendo asked. If you wanted to meet your wife, all you had to do was tell me. I may not be an angel anymore, but I do have connections up there. I can arrange a meeting easily. Gendo blinked. Oh, I know that, he says. Shinji rolls his eyes. Obviously. No sooner than that, Asuka pulled out her cell phone and dialed Misato. Misato? We're going to need all the Evas over here. We got a much bigger trouble than I thought. We'll be lowered down to the Evas entry plugs. Don't have time to go back to Synapse to do it the safe, easy way. Or I got word that CDA's Eva 06 series is on its way here to claim Lilith. Asuka stays while the others follow around in the area in a helicopter. The 4 pilots could see the planes of boats coming their way, each one carrying an Evangelion. 5 Evangelions? Who's the 5th pilot? Shinji asks. Choji. Shinji slowly says. What? Ray, Asuka, and Shinji say at the same time. Ever since he was in enough shape to leave the hospital, he's been training in the rebuilt Unit 3. Since the 13th Angel was destroyed, it was completely safe. And Ray, Unit 0, was recently rebuilt. And of course, will be piloting Unit 4. Shinji explains. Geez, I'm leave for 6 months and you still keep me secrets, Shinji. Shinji shouts, my capability to keep secrets is one of my finer qualities, Ikari. Speaking of which, your father should be back at HQ by now. He'll coordinate us in the defense against the U06 series, Shinji says. A short minute later, the 5 Evas landed in the cemetery where Yui Ikari slept. Each of the pilots were brought down to their Evas, taking stations and loading the entry plugs back into the necks of all the Evangelions. Unit 0 online. Unit 1 reporting. All 6 is functional. Mobility 2, Bajunta 05. Choji reporting. Unit 03 is ready. Unit 4 is ready. 5 Evas took position, seeing in the distance 9 Evangelions. The 9 looked exactly the same, like a repaired version of the 05 series it faced over a year and a half ago. He had the same reptilian head, bird-like wings, and colored a silver color. Each one had some kind of lance in their hand. The 5 pilots prepared themselves. Hey, Toji? Shinji asked. Yeah? Toji replies, looking at Shinji through the vidscreen monitor. Every Evangelion is supposed to have a soul residing in it. Usually the soul is the loved one of a pilot. What's the soul in yours? Shinji inquired. Choji closed his eyes. My sister, he said. What? Shinji yelled. When Seeley initially attacked Nerve, the Evangelion trying to get Lilith fired a beam cannon to Nerve HQ. The beam disintegrated half of the hospital district. My sister was one of the casualties. Choji explains. I'm sorry. It's alright. Shinji arranged for her soul to be placed within Unit 13. As long as I know my sister's alright wherever she is, I'm happy. Now let's kick Seeley's ass. Shinji smiled. The 9 Evangelions flew down 20 meters away from the Synapse Evas. Their wings retracted at their backs. They grinned at him in a horrifying way. Let's get it on, Asuka shouted, immediately charging at the nearest 06. Unit 02's progressive knife slashed at the U06 Eva, while 06 blocked away his lance. Unit 02 responded with punching Eva in the face. Gendo, any help on this matter would greatly appreciated, Sao said, observing the battle for the center of Synapse. Gendo calmly walked over where Maya sat, observing the Rias coming from the 06 Evas. Smell turned to Misato. These Evas are not being powered eternally. The DFS-2 engines. Gendo states, are you saying they're piloted by people? Misato says. No, they have no heat signatures from the entry plugs. They're using some kind of power transmission to power them, so our Evas cannot disable them by ripping out the engine. Of course. We use their own power signals to trace them back to Sea Light and alert the military. Sigaru! Already on, Gerald! Sigaru replies. Doesn't work at accessing the transmission beam. Ma'am, there's an extreme risk of a feedback to our own Avas if we trace the beam. Maya replies. It's a risk we're going to have to take. Sigaru, do you have it? Masaru asks. Yes, ma'am. Beginning trace now. Several seconds afterwards, an electrical explosion occurred at several consoles. Then the coordinates were relayed to Sigaru's console. I have the Gerald! Relayed them to the UN militia and tell them to haul ass. Sensei, Tensi, Asuka, report. The reply Masaka with screens. Screen flash on, showing the camera 5 images of 5 pilots rolling in plane. Few were curling up with the balls like they were sick. What's happening to them? Masao asked. I'm not sure. All vital signs show that they are in perfect health, Makao shouted. It's the feedback, penetrating into their very souls. Gendo exclaimed. Son of a bitch! Grip saw Tensi breathing deeply. Close set, he looked at the cameras and said, Okay, what the hell is that? Feedback for Tracy Sealight's location. Will make the others as close to recovery as you? Masao asked. I only managed to do it by summoning up every bit of my strength and willpower against it. I'm going to help them, Tensi sighed. Tensi activated the emergency hatch on Unit 04 and jumped out of it. He jumped out into the sky, flight capabilities taking effect. Let the wind guide him, quick taking him down over to Unit 1. Even through all the armor, he could hear the screams of Cincy inside. He opened a small compartment and pulled the lever inside it. The entry plug quickly ejected out, sticking out the back of Unit 01's neck. He opened the hatch on the plug to see Cincy staring straight at him, fangs over his head and eyes wide open as he continues to scream. Snatch out of it, Ikari! Cincy sighed. He jumped inside and Cincy continued to yell, stopping only to breathe for a few seconds. Cincy slapped Cincy hard, but did not quell his screams. He rolled his eyes and grabbed Cincy's face. Our minds are merging. Cincy slowly opened his eyes. It was nighttime, wherever he was. He was sitting beneath a tree overlooking the ocean. Thoughts and memories flooded through him. Memories of rejection, angst, and fear. He curled in a ball and began to cry softly. Cincy walked up to him and looked down at Cincy. Hey, Ikari, life's a song you don't get to rehearse. Get on up and snap out of it, he said. I can't. Too much pain, he sobbed. What was the last year and a half to you? Did nothing I tried to show get through? Truly, our minds are as one, Ikari. You know my heart is full of song, and I know your heart is full of chagrin. We know each other, Cincy. We are the same. Cincy stated. Suddenly, a piano and a small orchestra began to play. Music coming from nowhere, Cincy and Tensi began to sing no more. But Stephen Sohai's music score from the musical Into the Woods. No more questions, please. No more tests. What does the day was over? Please, no more. Tensi stared at Cincy for a moment and turned away. They disappoint. They disappear, but they don't. He murmured, What? Cincy asked, sitting up. Cincy looked down at Cincy again, still glaring. They disappoint. I turn I fear. They forgive, they won't. Cincy sang. Cincy looked up, with sorrowful eyes. No more riddles, no more chests, no more curses you cannot do by your fathers you never knew. No more quests, no more feelings. Time to shut the door. Just no more. Cincy said. Cincy turned and walked over, sat down, putting out a smile. Running away. Let's do it. Free from the ties that bind. No more despair, no burdens to bear. Out there in the yonder, Tensi sang. Tensi looked over at Cincy, who still looked down the ocean. Running away. Go to it. What did you have in mind? Have to take care. Just aware. Don't leave you wandering blind. There's more questions, different kinds. Where are we to go? Where are we to ever go? Running away. We'll do it. Why sit around resigned? The trouble with some, the farther you run, the more you feel undefined for what you've done. More what you left behind. Tensi did stood up and looked out of the ocean. We disappoint. We leave a mess. We die, we don't. Cincy did saying, We disappoint. In turn, I guess. Forget like we won't. After that, they both sang the same thing. Like father, like son. There was a pause since he stood up, amidst his fluster his mind of fighting the angels and enemy Evangelions. No giants waging war. Then he turned to Tensi and held out a shirt in a pleasing manner. We can't pursue our lives with our fathers and wives. To let a happy day arise, how do you ignore all the witches, all the curses, the wolves, the lies, the false hopes, the goodbyes, versus all the wondering was still there in store? Tensi gave no answer, stared at him sympathetically. All the children, all the giants, no more. Tensi collapsed again, going into field position. Tensi's face turned to a glare. He knelt down to Shinji. Shinji, you have to snap out of this. You're stronger than this, he exclaimed. No, I'm not. I hear the voice of Seele over and over in my mind. It orders me to obey. Then resist it, Tensi shouts. I can't. I don't know how, Shinji yells back. Shinji bites his lips, thinking for a moment, then gets it. Shinji, you just have to say, no, I won't, one more time. Then they can say, yes, you will. Shinji blinks for a moment and closes his eyes. Shinji falls back, releasing his grip on Shinji's face. Looks up at the monitors, seeing that Asuka and Toji were gritting their teeth, breaking out into feedback. However, Rei was still screaming. Immediately, Shinji jumped up, and Shinji placed the entry plug back into Unit 1 as Shinji cleared it. Immediately used all his flight strength to get himself over to Unit 0. Pulled over the compartment over the entry plug. He pulled on the lever inside, shifted the entry plug, and opened the hatch to see Rei screaming. Not being in the mood to sing again, Shinji merely put his hands over her mouth and stopped screaming. She looking at him in sadness and pain. He let go of her mouth, was a scream in fear. Ayame, you have to snap out of this, Shinji shouts. No, I can't. I'm just a doll, Shinji. I know I've been saying otherwise. I'm just a doll to be used and discarded. He exclaimed, no, you're not. You're a girl that is loved, cherished by everyone you know. You have a soul, Shinji replies. Soul? How can I have a soul? I'm piloting Unit 0. My own soul went out of my body for me to pilot it. I can't be piloting if I have a soul, Ayame yelled at him. Yes, you can. Something else is powering it. The love, Shinji said, his own face filled with fear of losing Rei. I don't know love. No one loves me truly and purely. Yes, someone does. Yeah? Who? Me. Rei looked at Tensi, who was beginning to cry. Fell to her lap, sobbing. I love you, Rei. I loved you since I first saw you, even as an angel. You're beautiful, Ayame. You're the only thing I truly love. I want to be with you, Rei. I love you. Still not as romantic as Domo and Rain. Rei blinked and then hugged him. Tensi slowly stopped crying. Looked at Rei. Two heads came closer and their lips met in a passionate, loving kiss. The romantic moment, however, was broken by the irritating voice of one hunted, red-headed girl. Woo! Love the guys get it on with the angel, Asuka laughed. Tensi's eyes narrowed at Asuka. I hate my life, he sighed. This is Masao's hit to Eva's pilots. Do you read me? Masao's voice said, feeling clearly being established. We read you, Masao. What's up? We have a new problem. The tracking signal we used to locate Seele disrupted the powerful to the enemy Avas. However, it seems that as a backup precaution. Seele did in fact install two S2 engines into a Series 6 series. Powering up now, Masao states. Notice just most of a pump before they could show us, Asuka says. Not possible. We scanned the 06. The armory is made out of polymer unlike anything we've carried. None of your weapons will be able to penetrate it, Gendo says. Then might suggest we do something different, Tensi asks. Like what? Like draining the battery, Tensi suggests. You sure that you can handle that much power? Tensi asks. For the ninth time, no. However, none of you have the kind of valuing necessities in order to take this much raw power without killing yourselves. Look, I can take the power and give Unit 4 to consume. Are we ready? Tensi asks. Ready as will ever be. Start it up, Tensi, Masao commands. Alright, everyone, begin! 5 Evangelion units held each other's hands, with all 4 being in the center. Inside each entry plug, the pilot was focusing on their own minds to burrow deep inside their barrier. For each Eva, the souls within them, if you will. They all gritted their teeth as they searched every fiber of their being. Finally, in a small, dark corner of the Eva's cores, they found what they were looking for. Out of Unit Zero's head came a ghostly figure looking like Ray. Out of Unit 1's head came a ghostly figure looking like you. Out of 402's head came a ghostly figure looking like Mrs. Langley. 03 came a ghostly figure looking like Toshi's sister. And out of 04's head came a ghostly figure looking like Tenchi. The 5 souls wrapped themselves all around the Eva 06 series. The lights and power in the Eva slowed to a stop, killing them by draining the S2 engines of their power completely. The souls slowly retracted back into the Evas, but they were not left there. The power they possessed was too much for them to handle. And so, the power was all transformed into the pilot of 04, Tenchi. Tenchi screamed for a moment as a white light enveloped his body. Suddenly, the light disappeared, and his eyes began glowing white. Amelia stood up on the roof of his Eva. Tenchi? Tenchi, can you hear me? Ray shouted. No use, Ayame. He's doing what needs to be done. What do you mean? Tenchi asked. All of you had some sort of mental vision in a dark realm where you confronted your demons. Kendo says, so? Has Tenchi ever done that before? Tenchi opened his eyes. He looked around himself, seeing only blackness outside the lake that shined down over him. Sitting in a mental floating chair, so he stood up. While it seemed like an infinite amount of time, nothing happened. Then he spoke, saying the words millions have wondered by seeing this dark black space. Why the hell is it so dark in here? There was no reply retort to his show question. Then he decided he was sick of laying. Where are you? Show yourselves! I know you're here! Of course you have. You've always been here. Now I signed down, showing Asuka in her plug suit. The others had a disease. Why do you help them? Because they are my friends. I believe in them. Do you believe in yourself? Tenchi gave no answer. Do you believe in yourself? I refuse to answer. You are afraid to answer. Another light shone down, now showing Shinji as the light with Asuka disappeared. What does it matter if I am? Because you need to believe in yourself. I do. Then why did you evade the question? Because no one truly believes in themselves. The light with Shinji disappeared, replaced by another light that had Ray in it. Shinji does. How do you know? The light disappeared, leaving Tenchi alone again. It gave no answer. Who are you? What do you want? Tenchi was given no answer. Why are you here? Where are you going? Still no answer. How dare you lecture me about believing in myself when you don't even know the answers to my questions? You don't know who you are. You don't know what you want. You don't know why you're here. You don't know where you're going. Tenchi shouted out. Still nothing came. Answer me! He exclaimed. It was answered. One light shined down right in front of Tenchi. The figure standing before him wore a white robe, and her hair at shoulder length, of a light brown color. Her eyes were sweet and innocent. Tenchi's pupils dilated as he recognized her from his own past as a human. Amelia? He asked. Yes, my angel. You must let go of the others. Join me, John. Amelia handed her hand out to Tenchi. Spell put his own hand out, taking hers. Amelia was going to lead Tenchi to her light. But suddenly, Tenchi's smile turned to the glare and pulled her hard into his light. Twisting her around, he snapped her arm very fast, breaking Amelia's arm. She yelled in pain as Tenchi held her arms back. Did you really think I could be bought so easily? He demanded. Amelia glared back at him. Any love I had for you was lost when you made the wrong choice in purgatory, he shouts, throwing her back into her own circle. I love Ayame now. Not you or anyone else can change that. So I say, let there be light. All the darkness around him shattered like glass, leaving him sitting down in the entry plug of 04. He took a deep breath as he saw the power draining from himself into Unit 04. Tenchi, are you already? I asked. I'm fine, Ayame. I'm fine. All the CLA members have been tried to sentence to life imprisonment. Sal says, sitting down at a large table at the restaurant where Tenchi worked. All well then, Swamasato? Kashi says, embracing her briefly. Frankly, I don't know why you people spend so much time in this place. For Christ's sake, the food isn't that good. Food can be supplemented by entertainment, Gendo rebuts. Where are Tenchi and Ray anyway? Maya asks. Probably giving each other some good old sex before they do their song together. Asuka suggests. Is that all you ever think about sex? Makoto asks. No, I think about other things. Cincy, nakedness, unscented bodies. Asuka grins. You're a very sick girl, Asuka, Tozi says. Any more sick than you improper little, Hikari starts to say. Hey, we're not here to fight. We're here to enjoy ourselves. Yeah, I enjoy pointing out how rude and sensitive my boyfriend is. That's why I love him. Isn't the show going to start soon? Shigeru asks. Where's our Rayer? Slowly, the lights dimmed, and the spotlight shined down on Ray and Tenchi. Tenchi wore an elegant tuxedo, whereas Ray wore a glittering red dress. Ladies and gentlemen, we dedicate this next song to the saviors of the world, and not letting us get into cheap-ass versions of the Boar Collective, aka the Third Impact. Those people down there. Tenchi sighed. Firelight shined down the ceiling and encompassed a group of people. All stood up and bowed. And now, ladies and gentlemen, let's all enjoy the singing talents of my lovely associate, Ray Ame. Tenchi says into the microphone and moves away. Ray moves up to the microphone. Music begins playing to the theme of Evagelion, Krill's Angel Thesis. How do they even know it's the theme of Eva? Who cares? Like an angel with no sense of mercy, rise young boy to the heavens like a legend. She sings. All of a sudden, the music, when they stay on one note, Tenchi shouts 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, Linkara never changed. Hit it. I thought love was true only in fairy tales, meant for someone else but not for me. Love was out to get me, that's the way it seems. Disappointment haunted all my dreams, he sang. And then I saw her face, and now I'm a believer. Not a trace of doubt in my mind. I'm in love. Ooh, I'm a believer. I could leave her if I tried. Then Ray began to sing. I thought love was more or less a given thing. But the more I gave, the less I got. Oh yeah. What's the use of trying? All I get is pain. When I wanted sunshine, I got rain. And then I saw her face. And now I'm a believer. Not a trace of doubt in my mind. Everybody, I'm in love. Ooh, I'm a believer. I couldn't leave her if I tried. After that, there was a beat musical solo. What's the use of trying? All I get is pain. When I wanted sunshine, I got rain. Tenchi sang. And then I saw her face. And now I'm a believer. Not a trace of doubt in my mind. I'm in love. Ooh, I'm a believer. I couldn't leave her if I tried. And then I saw her face. Now I'm a believer. Not a trace of doubt in my mind. Now I'm a believer. Yeah, 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 yeah. I'm a believer. I'm a believer. I could leave her if I tried. Woo! People wonder why like Kara's my favorite writer to read from every year. How many times am I ever going to get to sing I'm a believer? Try topping that, Mikey. With that, the song ended. The entire restaurant exploded into applause and tears. Tenchi and Race embraced and kissed happily. Cities were built and peace were restored. Giant mechanical, artificially evolved human beings, known as Evangelions, were never needed again. The souls within them went to heaven, they greeted with them with open arms. Now Tenchi was prepared his own ending phrase for this story you had just witnessed. There must be no regrets, no tears, no anxieties. Just go forth in all your beliefs and prove to me that I am not mistaken in mine. Tenchi says, Wait a second, you stole that from Doctor Who! What? No, I didn't. Yes, you did. William Hartnett said it. They all lived happily ever after. Ahem, Asuka said. Well, sort of. That's better. The end. Yep. That's the end of Likara's Evangelion fic. What can I say? It's a blast. Yeah, it's not good. Alright. Tetsuya is an obvious scary stew. Too OP. The story ignores all the meaning, messages, and layers of Ava just to give a super maker duper happy ending. It messes with the character somewhat to what the author wants. And yet, I can't help but love it. I think mainly because, unlike Maiken, where you could tell that there's a bit of hatred into it, Likara feels like there's love in it. Well, there was one down, thousands more to go. See you all next time.